go live and see what's happening wrestling fans. It's the Two Bros Wrestling Show coming at you through stuff and things.
Interwebs.
Interwebs, powered by the interwebs of stuff and things and wrestling magic. What's happening, Kevin?
I'm hanging in there, just living the dream, the wrestling dream, not wrestle dream. That's a whole different
Not
thing.
there. That's
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 gonna be
that's in a
later in the
few
month.
weeks. Yeah.
We're crown jewelling it tonight, and not like the normal where you think of crown jewel, like crown jewel Perth, which is the first time the crown jewel franchise has not been in Saudi Arabia. We're going to talk about that. That is our main event topic. We will be previewing and predicting.
Previewing and predicting. I like it. Let's preview. Let's predict. But first, wait. Are we missing
Before we even
something?
do the news,
Uh
I want
oh.
a correction and an apology to Josh Briggs. I think you called out Javon Evans. Couldn't remember who
Yes.
he was in a match with.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
I called him Brooks Jensen, which is his former
Okay.
tag team partner. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, my apologies to Josh Briggs for confusing him with his former tag team partner. Probably not appreciated, but he hasn't written the show or anything, so I think we're still good. And with that,
We cut. That was a close one.
we hit our opening bell.
There we
We're
go.
going to start this week with a follow-up story that we discussed during our most recent broadcast, and that was WWE's dismissal of Andrade, now known again as Andrade El Idolo. Obviously, one of the big stories of this past week was Andrade showing up back on AEW television for their anniversary broadcast, confronting Kenny Omega. There's a reason he was able to appear so quickly without the standard 90-day non-compete that WWE usually bakes into their contracts. And that is because, WWE decided to drop him rather quickly. And that is due to apparently multiple reports now, not just one. We're not just reporting rumors here, but multiple corroborating reports are that Andrade violated the WWE wellness policy multiple times over the last few years, and WWE made the decision just to cut him outright, which made him an immediate free agent. And obviously, one Tony Khan was willing to rehire him on his second go around with AEW, despite the WWE violations. So this is Andrade's second stint in AEW as well, after leaving there to come back to WWE. It should be noted that during his first stint in WWE, Andrade had a 30-day suspension due to a wellness policy violation back in January of 2020. So this has been a problem for Andrade for a while. Back then, WWE would announce their suspensions and wellness policy violations. They don't tend to do that as policy any longer. We'll see how it goes down in Tony land for Andrade.
Tell me you're trying to get fired without telling me you're trying to get fired.
Seriously, right? I mean, we'll see if he's on better behavior or if Tony's just more lenient. But moving on to the latest on TNA's media rights, we'd previously reported that TNA President Carlos Silva was telling everyone he wanted to have at least a handshake deal in place for a broadcast partner by the time of Bound for Glory. Fast forward, look at your calendar. Bound for Glory is coming up next weekend. We now have an update from Silva. No real details in this story, but because he had made that broad statement before, he had been asked about it going into Bound for Glory upcoming weekend. He did confirm that actually it was to TV Insider that TNA is no longer shopping the promotion around to gauge interest, but that they were actively in the negotiation process with a partner, trying to hammer out all the details. He wouldn't reveal who that partner was. He didn't put a timetable on getting it done, but he did indicate it was just down to the one partner and the logistics with this interested party, just hammering it out, getting it over the finish line in time for something in 2026. So fingers crossed we hear something soon, and naturally we'll be following this story on the Two Bros Wrestling Show. TNA, I have very much enjoyed when I've had an opportunity to watch it. It's just I don't receive it on my current streaming package. So being on a broader network than what they're currently on would be great for wrestling fans, because especially with the WWE tie-in, the NXT tie-in, they have some talented guys and gals, and are doing some great stuff that just would be really cool to be able to keep up with a little better.
It's the little wrestling promotion that could. Yeah, it just can't be killed.
You can't, man. They have been dead in the water, or at least pronounced and thought dead, for a very, very long time. But basically, since they started, everyone has been waiting for them to go belly up, and are still fighting. You got to give it to them. And then it's ridiculous if you actually look at the folks that are on like WWE's rosters that actually had some of their prime years in TNA, and you realize that all those years that they were hard to find on a Destination America or whatever, or that people would make fun of them for being such a distant number two, they were actually killing it a lot of the time, and maybe just not getting quite the credit that they probably deserved. So, hey, I'm rooting for them.
Absolutely.
Sort of a tie-in story, I guess, and the fact that NXT and TNA are almost one and the same anymore. But we recently talked about NXT parting ways, or Jasmine Nix, rather, parting ways with NXT by deciding not to re-sign. A very similar story occurring, as it turns out. This week, we are reporting NXT superstar Idris Enofe has announced his departure from the WWE and NXT specifically after 4 years competing on the brand. It is similar to the Jasmine Nix story in that it would seem it was not Idris being let go, but rather Idris deciding not to re-sign. So it's been interesting if you've seen any more about Jasmine Nix, some things that have come out about her situation. It probably applies to Idris as well. It seems like WWE, particularly on the Performance Center and NXT side, are handling contracts a lot differently, not getting all like, bothered about them just walking away or going to, Tony Khan or leaving. So they're making it a lot easier for folks to leave, but they also, apparently Jasmine was expected to make was set to make like $75,000 on the year, which if you think about, you're on television, you're paying for your own travel and things, it's surprisingly low from what you could imagine. But it would seem that a lot of these contracts are opportunity contracts where if you did get the call-ups and you made it to one of the main brands, or you were featured more prominently, that would go up exponentially. And so it's not a set figure that they're signing them to. And in her comments, when she was being, deciding herself not to resign, she made reference to the fact that the financials not working out and not being excited about her long-term future. So in other words, if you don't see yourself having a direct path to Raw or SmackDown, or that they're not going to work you to the top of the card of NXT, you probably are going to be at the lower level of that compensation contract mark. And obviously, if you do have other opportunities, you very well could better that somewhere else outside of wrestling.
So I saw Bully Ray talking about this, and I thought it was really interesting because he was talking about Nix in particular. I don't know about this other person, but talking about how they were brought in through like some other program, like she was like a soccer player or something like that, volleyball, soccer, some sort of collegiate athlete or something like that, and how WWE brings it. Yeah. And how, WWE brings in these folks that are like these athletes from other sports and kind of tries to create these crossovers. And he was talking about, had she been properly trained, and I'm not sure that's accurate, but he said, had you been properly trained, came through the indies, went through a wrestling school, came through the indies, and wrestling was in her blood, she would still be focused on a career in WWE. And WWE is wasting a lot of time bringing a lot of talent in that's not, basically having like wrestling baked into them already. They're just kind of plucking people from other things and going, hey, you've got a good look. We think you can make it here. You've got a good look. You're athletic. Let's see what you can do, instead of going after those people who, it's just in their blood already, and you could get a lot more out of them.
It's interesting you say that. Probably what he's referring to was maybe like, what do they call them? The NIH athletes?
Yes, that's it.
I mean, essentially, and I might even have that acronym wrong, but it's because used to, if you were a college athlete, you couldn't get compensated, and they realized that
Hmm.
universities were making tons of money on the backs of particularly basketball and football players, but all college athletes, your Livy Dunns of the world, gymnastics, all
Hmm.
that stuff, those folks can earn money now, and because of that, WWE has swapped in, and it's smart to look at really athletic young people who might have a future in the business and try to cultivate it. But Bully Ray probably isn't wrong that some of these people would stick around if they had it more in their blood. The I'm only making $75,000 a year would probably to a normal 20-year-old wanting to make in the wrestling business. Go down to your local gymnasium, someone that's working for $10 a night on the indies right now, and see if they would
Exactly.
jump at a
Yeah.
$75,000 contract and be on TV every week. You know what they would
Right.
do. So it is
Right.
definitely a difference in mindset. That's a really fair point on priorities of some of these folks.
Hmm. And it sounds really good when you own a wrestling school too to say that. So
It's easier when you have that.
yeah.
It's probably a good segue into this next story because it's an injury news story about Ridge
Okay.
Holland. Ridge Holland, a rugby player, so that's where he came
Mhm.
from. And
There we go.
in fairness, and not to just contradict Bully Ray, whether you're talking like Wahoo McDaniel or Ernie Ladd, or there's a lot of former football players and college athlete Goldberg. I mean, it's not unheard of. It's not a new thing that WWE is
Right.
doing. They're just trying to cultivate it. This is the way that many people have gotten the wrestling business for years when another pro athletic career did not work out for them. But yes, Ridge Holland. He was
Hmm.
injured during a crossover TNA TV taping. He was wrestling Moose over on TNA when the injury occurred. It was bad enough that the match was stopped, and Moose actually helped his opponent to the back.
Oh,
So it's apparently something called the Lisfranc joint. Lisfranc joint. I do not know where that is. It's in the foot. He's going to require surgery to repair it. It could be months before he is able to return. So best wishes to Ridge Holland. Again, Ridge is like 30. He's like mid 30s. Like you wouldn't think it, but he's
hmm,
not only coming from the world of rugby, he's starting late. He obviously has a passion for it because he's been involved in
right. He's
several
sticking
high
around. Yeah.
profile injury situations, and he is
Yep.
definitely sticking around, whether that's main roster, being sent back to the NXT, being sent over to TNA. This is a guy who wants to make it. So definitely best of luck on recovery to Ridge.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
finally, and a good way to transition to our main event, but WWE and Fandango have announced that next
Is this
Saturday's Crown Jewel.
the wrestler Fandango or the?
It's the movie, folks. Fandango.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just need
Fandango, not
clarification.
not I don't know what he is in TNA now, but not that Fandango.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
this Saturday's Crown Jewel Perth that we're about to preview here in a moment is going to be seen in select movie theaters in the United States. So check out Fandango's website to see which
Hmm.
theaters are participating. And if you're like me and you have yet to make that switch to ESPN, who knows? The ticket price varies depending on where you live. And I'm sure some cities are going to be probably cheaper than that ESPN subscription price. So it may be worth, if you're interested in Crown Jewel, just checking it out to see when it might air and how much it will be. And when I say when it might air, that's because being in Perth, it is going to be an 8 a.m. start time.
Oh
And so not
gosh.
all theaters will be showing it live. Some will be showing it after the fact. So you'll want to keep all of that in note as we go into talking about our main event, that if you're going to watch it live next week on ESPN or in those theaters that are showing it live, it is 8 o'clock if you're on the East Coast. You do the math according to your time zone there. Early start.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Too early for me. This guy, whenever he's watching it, it will be later in the weekend. I promise you that.
And you can actually roll in like Super ESPN or whatever it's called with Hulu and Disney Plus and just get like a big giant package. You can
Is
do
that what you
that.
did?
And that's
Have
what
you?
I did.
All right. So you've
Yeah.
made the
You
switch.
you you can roll it all up into one big giant package, and they yeah, you can do it. It can be
Doug watching
done.
all the sports now.
I got all the sports ball, all the sports ball I
Repping
could
the
ever
Dodgers.
want.
Go Dodgers. That's the only other sport I'm
Go
into. So
Black
we're in the
Sabbath.
playoffs here.
Uh,
Well, I don't disagree with that at all. But now it's time for some disagreeing, or probably not. We're probably going to see
Probably
this
not.
pretty similar, but we are going to
Yeah.
preview right now
Got
Crown
the notes
Jewel
here.
Perth. Crown Jewel Perth. It's just
Let's see.
weird to have Crown Jewel not in
Crown
Saudi
Jewel.
Arabia,
Oh,
but I'm
wow.
all for it. I'm kind
I'm
of, it's
I'm
nice.
definitely I'm definitely for it, but it just seems wrong for some reason. I think Crown Jewel is an exclusively Saudi event.
It feels Saudi, the name. I would have
Hmm.
gone with something else, but maybe
Right.
they're wanting to, especially as they have WrestleMania now getting ready to come to Saudi
Hmm.
Arabia. Maybe they're wanting to distance themselves from all Saudi events being known as Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
Could be a branding thing they're trying, but let's look at the matches we have because there are only
Let's see.
4 announced,
One,
and
two, three,
yeah, they're
four.
only
Yep.
that are official. And I will say that we're live. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're live on Sunday. On Monday, at the beginning of Raw, Roman Reigns is going to address the crowd. Roman Reigns has recently returned. I imagine within the first few minutes of Raw, we will all be finding out what our tribal chief's role will be in Australia. I can't imagine he's not going or that they won't build something around the bloodline. Doug, do you have any thoughts about what you think that match
I
would be?
not really sure. I don't know. Let's see what the man has to say.
So there's no way to predict what the match will be, but I will say if it's any combination of the new big giant and the new bloodline or what, I do think that you are going to see Roman Reigns if he does show up and is in a match. You can guarantee it's going to be against probably not Jacob right off the bat. So it's probably almost for certain going to be a Roman Reigns victory if he is on the card. That is my prediction for Roman Reigns. He's not losing.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll have to agree with that. Whatever Rowan's doing, he's going over.
I'm going to start, though, with the matches that we know, Doug,
All
with the
right.
tag team contest. And I think that, to me, in many ways, this has been one of the more compelling storylines that WWE has been giving us lately. And this one isn't for a title. The one isn't the one with John Cena in it. But, gosh, this has been fun to watch. And that is the Kabuki Warriors and their dissolution with Io Sky and just the, who knew that Asuka apparently was a tyrant who has poor little Kairi Sane too afraid to say anything and
Yes.
Io Sky crying. And I mean, I actually think this has been really well done.
Hmm.
You can say it's been overly dramatic at times. Sure, that's
No.
wrestling, but these women have really been making for some compelling storyline TV. And now we see Io teaming up with her longtime rival, Rhea Ripley, to take on the Kabuki Warriors. Doug, do you see the Warriors taking round 1 of this? You think that the Rhea Ripley Io Sky bond cannot hold because of their past, or Io's
I,
being a little bit conflicted too?
I don't know that the bond will not hold, but we're wrestling in Australia, so I'm saying Rhea takes the pin.
Rhea takes the pin or gets the pin?
Rhea takes the pin. I'm calling it. Kabuki
Because people
Warriors
lose in
go
their
over.
hometown.
Yep. Kabuki Warriors go over. Rhea takes the pin. That's my call with this one.
From the days of JR having to kiss Mr. McMahon's behind every time they go to Oklahoma, for whatever reason, it's a tradition that you tend to get
Hmm.
humiliated in your hometown. I know that Rhea had that amazing moment last time they were in Australia, and it was perfect for that event. She had that singular moment in the main
Hmm.
event. This won't be the main event. They'll be happy to see her. It's a tag team. It's chapter 1 of a longer story. I think that
Yes.
Asuka has to come out on top. And yeah, if Rhea takes the pin, I wouldn't be surprised. But I also wouldn't
Hmm.
be surprised if Io gets conflicted and leaves Rhea to suffer a 2-on-1 beatdown and just comes for the save a little too late or something. There'll be something to
I
save
think.
face for Rhea a little bit here. But the
Hmm.
Kabuki, I think honestly, Kabuki Warriors, Asuka needs this more. especially since Rhea needs nothing but she's arguably the biggest star in the company, male or
Hmm.
female. So she'll get the heroes welcome in Australia, whether this match outcome goes her way or not.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think there'll be some miscommunication between Rhea and Io as they try and get on the same page, but it won't start clicking just yet. But this is just our first round of like this, and they are in Australia, so Rhea is staring at the lights.
We are in agreement on this one, and we're probably getting an agreement on this next one. I'm going to leave the champions versus champion matches for last, and let's talk about something that could actually be what goes on last. I don't know how they'll book this, but as we have seen thus far in the John Cena farewell tour, it is not unlike the company to put John's matches last just because the reactions that they're getting for John Cena. And this in some ways is farewell for all involved, because AJ Styles announced that he will be
Hmm.
hanging up the boots sometime in 2026. I can't imagine that includes another trip to Australia. So this is probably the Australian farewell, in-ring farewell for both John Cena and AJ Styles, two historic figures in the world of at least the most recent era of pro wrestling. Doug, this is to me one of the more compelling of these matches on the card. I put that up there with what I said about Rhea and Io versus the Kabuki Warriors. This is probably the second match that I'm most interested in, even more than the champion versus champion matches. But John Cena's farewell has, even after losing the title,
Hmm.
I kind of feel he's going out on a string of W's, and I think that'll probably
Hmm.
continue here.
Yeah, big match John, who always, couldn't quite get it there for a while when it came to those big matches. He's going to collect his W's on his way out the door. And AJ, even though this will probably be AJ's last, time wrestling in Australia, I don't think even after AJ retires, unlike Cena, because I believe Cena when he says when he's done, he's done. AJ plans to, pivot to like a producer role or something backstage. So there's always that potential for AJ to show back up in the future in a ring somewhere.
And it was, in fairness, a statement in an interview that is not set in stone. It's not him coming out and announcing
Right.
like John did that I've got X number of dates. So
Yep.
it's a wrestling. I'll retire sometime in 2026. Who knows? The
Hmm.
closer that date gets, if he's feeling good, that could continue for a while. But it will be good to see these two rivals face each other one last time. John Cena, after kind of a rough start, knocking the rust off, I got to give it to him. The last 3 or 4 of his farewell tour
Hmm.
matches have all been really excellent. And if anyone could bring something of that level out of John Cena, I mean, AJ Styles, come on. This is probably going to be pretty good. I
Hmm.
expect it to be really good. And I
Oh
expect the
yeah.
crowd to be, they're elevating it because they'll just be so into, those international crowds have been great for WWE anyway. That crowd's going to be insane for John Cena in his last appearance there.
Yes.
Could even be
Absolutely.
the last match. Do you think they might end with this one?
I would, if I was the idiot in the back writing that crap. I would, make it the last match.
I agree. I agree. But let's get to what are the Crown Jewel championships, which are not really championships. There's something about this whole. It bothered me when they did it in Saudi Arabia. It's a
Hmm.
little different now that they're doing it in Perth, and that it's just doesn't have the stigma attached with the location. But champion versus champion would work fine for me for bragging rights, but calling them a Crown
Hmm.
Jewel champion and giving them a ring and then not mentioning it again until it's time for Crown Jewel. And that's the only time they
It,
mention
it
no one
means,
on
yeah,
the ring
it means
bragging about
nothing.
it.
Yeah,
Means nothing.
it
I
mean
mean,
it.
I would be okay if it was just simply a which champion's best, let's see, but
Hmm.
just trying to portray it as a annual tradition championship that means something, that actually I think works against the concept. I would rather just be it's champion versus champion. Let's see which champion's best. Nothing on the line but pride, and sell it to me
Hmm.
that way instead of trying to, you know, trot out a ring once a year and make me feel like that's
Yeah.
something that, you know, is storyline driven that people are really interested in the rest of the year, it doesn't factor into the booking ever. Like ever. No one is ever mentioned as a Crown Jewel champion unless it's Crown Jewel champion season when they're getting ready to do
Yes,
this.
exactly.
Annoys me. Annoys you
Same.
too, I can say.
Yes, it does.
But we do have two matchups that on paper look great because of the people involved. And let's start with the women, and that is two of the best women in the business today. Our champion Stephanie Vaquer taking on Tiffany Stratton from over on the SmackDown side of the equation. I have to say that both of these ladies are rising stars, but Stephanie right now is such a supernova in many
Mhm.
ways that I don't see her losing. She has just been on a streak, and it wouldn't surprise me just based on the character that is Tiffany Stratton. For as popular as she has been overall, if a heel turn were to come into something like this,
Mhm.
that wouldn't surprise me a bit either, timing wise.
I'm right there with you on everything you just said. And, somebody's got to be the bad guy here anyway. So this all works together. It all clicks. And I think that Vakur, and I always have trouble saying her last name, is the person that Tiffy needs right now to kind of get her back on track after those terrible botches and just goofs from SmackDown a few weeks ago, and just try and get her in the ring and show what she can really do. But Tiffy's not going over.
No.
Our
Okay.
dark angel, our little tiefling in Vekora is going over.
We're in lockstep with one match left to go, Doug, and I think that this might be the one we disagree on, only because I am not sure yet who I'm picking, even as we get ready for it. Because this is one that's the hardest one to book for me. All the others seem to have a logical, like it makes sense to book it this way. I almost feel like both Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes need protected a little bit, but someone's going to have to
Mhm.
take the L here. Seth obviously has the numbers advantage with his faction, the vision there, and Cody is usually by himself, but Cody's kind of in that rebuild mode right now after
Mhm.
having recently recaptured the championship. So would it make sense for him to lose so quick after just getting his title back? I don't know where to go with this one. Is it possible that we get a no contest of some sort?
That is exactly what I was just thinking, because like you, I wasn't sure where to go with this one. And as you're talking, I'm thinking the most logic here, if I'm booking it, is a no contest. We have a run in by the Braun boys. Maybe CM Punk shows up, not necessarily to help Cody, but to, fight the good fight against Rollins and the Vision. So, and it ends in a no contest.
You know, we mentioned Roman Reigns. This
Oh,
could be his involvement because it was the Vision that took him out.
hmm.
It wasn't the Bloodline. I know that
Yep,
that's kind of
yep.
an ongoing thing, storyline with him being the Bloodline. And I know I said that up top. I probably should have mentioned the fact that, oh, yeah, it was Bronson Reed, that other
Yeah.
Australian that will be on this card somewhere in Seth Rollins' corner. Roman Reigns coming back to support his former nemesis and his corner. That could be how this thing breaks down without it being
Yeah.
someone taking a clean loss at the very least, if not a just down, out and out like schmoz of some sort.
Schmoz. Just a straight up schmoz.
I think that this would lead credence if we're both thinking that when I'm trying to predict this one that there will be no winner, that leads more credence to ending with John Cena versus AJ
But
Styles.
yeah,
You don't send the crowd home on a no contest. That will
you
make no
absolutely
one
do not.
happy. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that would be disappointing to all. So that is more reason to believe that John Cena standing tall, soaking up some ovations at the end of the night is how we bring the curtain down. This might even be your opener, Seth Rollins and Cody
Oh yeah.
Rhodes, if it means that they know that they're going to go with a match that they're not going to give you a decisive winner. But yeah, I can't pick a winner in this one. That does make the most logical sense to me as well.
All right. A no contest it is.
No contest it is, and Crown Jewel it is. I know there is only
Mhm.
4 matches currently on the card. I would anticipate 5 or 6. WWE keeps them tight. 5 would probably be a good 2.5 hour show. If they wanted to get it closer to the 3 hours, you'll get maybe 6. I don't see them adding too much more to this. They do like to let their
Right.
matches breathe. And when you look at these 4 matches on paper, these are all 4 really good
Yeah.
contests. And with people that could go 15, 20 minutes,
Mhm.
25, 30 minutes if need be. Some of these matches will be long and take up a lot of the card. Obviously, we didn't predict anything in the way of huge storyline changes. There are no titles currently on the line because the Crown Jewel Championship is not a championship. But
It's ridiculous.
it could be just a nice wrestling event without any consequential endings. So if you still are considering maybe pushing off your ESPN subscription for another month, you might be good to just catch this one on replay somewhere down the line, because it doesn't look like it's going to move the needle a whole lot storyline wise. But on paper,
Mhm.
the in-ring action looks pretty strong.
Yeah, and I think I've said it before, if you're wrestling with that whole ESPN price, WWE does a really great job of recapping what happens in their premium live events going into their weekly TV,
Right.
and what happens in their weekly TV on their premium live events and through their YouTube channel and their other social media. So you can almost thread the needle and put together your own, like, curate your own weekly wrestling without having to sink all that money into a massive, like, subscription for things you'll never watch like I did. But
And
you
hey,
know,
next week on the Two Bros Wrestling Show, you can just watch us, and we will tell you
there
not
you
only who
go.
won, but what we think of each of these matches. And we're giving you a match by match review, as we always do after WWE's events. That is going to be our show next week. But before we get to next week, Doug, we got to finish out this week.
Let's do it. Got
Let's
my
hit the
notes
big
up here.
finish.
Let's do it.
Doug, botch of the week. What did you
So,
see this week that just did not sit well with you?
so, I didn't see any incredibly offensive wrestling this week, which is good. But, there is a big botch there that's just like sticking out like a sore thumb that I've got to call out. We had what, our 6 year anniversary of AEW.
Yep.
Dynamite has been on the air for 6 years now. And this Dynamite drew the worst ratings ever. Huge show, 6 year anniversary. Andrade comes back and joins the Callis family. I'm pretty sure we're members of the Callis family at this point now, by the way, because it's like old school, like NWO, where everybody's in the Don Callis family. But that's not my watch. It's just like, I think that AEW is struggling to find their place. Before it was easy. They didn't have to do a lot but just show up. And over the years, it's gotten I don't want to say it's gotten loose. They have great wrestlers, they have great wrestling storylines. There's just something missing. Like we were talking last week, the wrestlers we talked about, none of them are incredibly offensive wrestlers. They just don't have it. And I hate to say it, but I think AEW is in that space where they just don't have it anymore. When they have a 6 year anniversary show that should be a huge, huge ratings draw and bring in, they get such terrible, terrible ratings. And it's maybe time for some self reflection there, Kevin.
I didn't realize, I had not yet heard that. I didn't know that the rating was the worst ever for what is, it was billed as a special show. It was 2.5 hours, in fact. I can't imagine how bad it'll be this upcoming week, because they're not going to be on Wednesday nights. They're going to be on Tuesday.
Right?
I know I called
Okay.
out my Dodgers earlier, but this past Wednesday's show probably was hurt by the baseball playoffs going on. That is the
So,
reason why Dynamite and Collision over the next few weeks, you'll want to keep an eye on your DVR, making sure you have it set right, because the times and the days are going to be bouncing around because of TBS's contracts with MLB.
yeah, I've got my notes right here. They had 465,000 viewers, which pulled them in a .09 rating in the key demo, which I realized we're outside the key demo now, Kevin. That 18 to 49.
No, no, not just now. We've been out for a while.
I know, I know.
Be a little longer.
Yeah,
My
it's
botch
just
of the
there.
week. also is
Stare me
worth
in the
talking
face with
about.
the notes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's not with the ratings, although I certainly think you're right. Some self reflection probably is time, but I'm going to call out a ridiculous angle, and I'm fine for trying to play mind games. I think that's all well and good, and I'm even fine for wrestling being ridiculous. Sometimes sometimes it's just because wrestling, right? And like
Right. Yeah.
it's ridiculous, but it works. It's funny. It's whatever, but this hologram clone idea, I think AEW is not going for this guy's trying to get in somebody's head, because they
Hmm.
didn't go that route when the announcers are talking. They are acting like the guy's an actual clone, a hologram,
Hmm.
which is the bad kind of wrestling ridiculousness. Like, oh, don't,
Again,
I don't know.
it's time for some
Some
self reflection there. What are we doing?
I
What are we
flash
doing
back to
here?
as a kid and poor Hector Guerrero, who back in the WCW day or NWA day, I think he was like for a couple months Lasertron, and they put him in like a Lasertron helmet, and he had to wrestle with a helmet on. Something about this hologram clone. Hologram
Hmm.
won me over in the ring. I thought the name was dumb to begin with, and
Yep.
like I thought, oh yeah. And then he wrestled him like, okay, I'll buy in. I'll forgive the name because this dude's amazing. He's got the unbeaten streak. Now he's been hacked or whatever, and it's like, okay, you got me once to buy into, like, okay, I can go for one hologram. I can't go for two. Just can't.
No. No.
Doug, about instead of things we don't like, how about let's talk some things we do like, starting with our
Let's do it.
performer or performance that you saw this week that really got your attention.
So this is wrestling adjacent, although we've talked about the man quite a bit already and his wrestling AJ Styles in Perth coming up. But John Cena, my performer of the week, and not for anything he did in the ring, but I'm not sure how many folks are Peacemaker fans out there, but my goodness, Cena has upped his level. Just from season one to season two, you can tell that John, not only does he do the work in the gym, he is doing the work with his acting coaches, because this last Peacemaker, so just tugging it at all the things, and just making you go, wow, John Cena, look, he's acting. Look at that. Good for you, John Cena. You're actually acting, and you're good at it.
It's funny you say that, because I have been trying to tell everyone who would listen to me that either
Mhm.
isn't a wrestling fan, isn't a John Cena fan, saw bits
Yes.
and pieces of Peacemaker and thought they knew what Peacemaker was, telling them this is the best show on TV. Right? This is, truthfully, it's the show I look forward to the most, without question. And not because it's good in a cheesy way or bad, like
Right.
all the stuff. It has gotten heart. It is, like, you're right. He's acting. He showed range. It was this past episode. You're 100% really, really well done.
I mean, especially as it crescendos up to the ending, and you're just like, what is
Yeah,
happening? John Cena is
yeah,
acting all over himself. Look at that. Yeah.
yeah. He's going to be just fine once he hangs it
Hmm.
up here in December. There'd be
Yeah.
no worries about that at all. Um, Actually, it's funny that you called out John Cena and Peacemaker, because I almost, and I'm not. That's not where I'm going with my performance of the week. But if I had a runner up, I just before today's broadcast saw Smashing Machine. I won't say the same thing about The
Oh.
Rock. It just really broadened, like, it's not a superhero film. It's not, John Cena being, or I'm sorry, Rock being funny or charming, or like, it is.
Hmm.
It's an art house film disguised as a fight film, and he just acts like, in a way that should open some eyes for some Hollywood directors that maybe had him in a box. It's fantastic. I would recommend for anyone to go see it. But my performance of the week goes to Cesar Duran, who this past week on MLW's Fury Road came out and started the show with the following quote: "While some other companies packs up their big show and shipped it off to Saudi Arabia to take that blood money, we
Ooh,
come here, do the real
damn.
deal right in the middle of Texas." I'm like, all right,
Wow.
dude,
Wow.
performer of the
And,
week, because yeah, exactly, coming in hot. Not, I mean, I know he's a
mhm.
heel, but still, I mean, it is what we were talking about last week in the controversy surrounding it. And I like that MLW, obviously, they've had some litigation with WWE. There's no love lost there, so they're pulling no punches. They had their deal with 2B supposedly pulled away because of WWE. Like, they have reason to have beef, but call out the king for not wearing clothes, because that's exactly what Cesar Duran did, and I thought it was excellent. So Cesar's hat tip performance of the week.
Very nice.
Like, I know you've had a heck of a week, but did you have a match that you saw that
I did,
stood out
Kevin.
to you?
I did, because the Protostar is just awesome any day of the week. But you stick him with Orange Cassidy, throw it out there, and just let the wrestling magic happen. And I know I'm giving some grief to AEW about their 6-year anniversary show, but on that show, they had Orange Cassidy versus Kyle Fletcher, which was just like John Cena's acting. It's just like, look at these guys go, just watch them go.
It's I know a week where the two bros were in lockstep on all of Crown Jewel. We are also in lockstep on Match of the Week. I will say this is my second straight week of putting Kyle Fletcher in my Match of the Week. I last week called out his match with Commander that I saw at Collision.
Yeah, you were there.
And
yeah,
I was there, and dude, I mean, he's kind of like, where certain names keep popping up. Like, we keep talking Javon Evans a lot. We're talking Kyle Fletcher a lot on the AEW side. There's some really amazing young stars in this business right now who keep getting our attention week after week. It's no coincidence that Kyle Fletcher is showing up in Match of the Week. Kyle Fletcher will have Match of the Year contenders, I guarantee you, when we start talking that here in a couple of months. He is getting better and better. I love what he and Orange Cassidy, who doesn't miss a step and honestly just isn't underrated. Orange Cassidy is underrated because the gimmick is so good and funny that sometimes people forget, oh, yeah, this guy can really work too. So it takes two to tango. They both pulled their weight in this one. It would be the one match I'd say go back and watch as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with that, we are to the end of another Two Bros Wrestling show. Reminder again that we are live on Sundays on YouTube, and then on demand, obviously, anytime on our YouTube and Facebook channels. However you watch us, we appreciate your support. Comment. Let us know what you think. Who do you think is going to win these matches? Where did we get it wrong? Next week, we'll all get together. We hope you join us to talk about what we thought of the show, which, again, if you're watching live, set those alarms. On the East Coast, it's 8 a.m. and it's earlier if you're anywhere else in the United States. So if you want to just wait and join us, Doug and I would be happy to have you back. We'll be well rested. We'll be watching it on delay, but
Kevin will be well rested.
Well, it's one of us actually does sleep. The other one stays up all the time watching wrestling.
All the time.
There's plenty of.
I wish.
Until then, though.
Go watch some wrestling, everybody. Good night.
See ya.